Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm Natalie, and this is Scientology Life After a Cult. And in today's Scientology Recap, we are going to get into how Leah Remini is moving on. We have leaked Mike Rinder Office of Special Affairs document shedding light on a curious event that happened. And Aaron Smith Levin shares an uncomfortable truth. At least it made me uncomfortable, but probably should have. We're going to talk about that and how Scientology filmmaker Alex Gibney has a new documentary in the works, and it involves Luigi Mangione. All kinds of news, that and so much more we're going to get into today. Thank you, moderators, for being here and helping out. Thank you so much to the members. I see you there. We are doing a members-only live stream today. It is Tuesday. We try to do it Tuesday, 4 p.m. Central Time, as much as we can stick to that. So please join if you're interested in becoming a member of the channel, which is a great way to support my channel and me. There is a link in the description of this video, and you can also click join if you're on my channel as well. Thank you to the members for being here and everybody in the live chat. So much to get into. And you guys, something else that I'll bring up again. I'll bring this up later as more people continue to join us. We're going to play a little game today, and it's called Let's Get Scientology Life After a Cult to 21,000 subscribers before we log off today. We only need what was the math, Nancy? 24 more or something? And to make it extra fun, I'm going to sweeten the pot. If we hit 21,000 during this live stream, someone is getting a Feral Cheryl body Thetan. We will randomly choose someone from the chat at the end of this video. Someone will get a body Thetan. So if you have not already subscribed, check your subscribe, people, and please do so. Right now, let's look at some stuff that was happening in Denmark. Miriam with Scientology Up North was protesting outside Scientology in Denmark, and a couple things happened. One, Antics of a Mama Squirrel made a fantastic little dance video. We're going to look at that first. Then we're going to look at a conversation that Miriam had randomly on the street with the daughter of a Scientologist there in Denmark. So first, let's all get our dance on. Check this out.
Villagers cheer as they see her come to the beat of freedom strong. Her steps light up the frosty air. Miriam shows she's always there.
Love it. I'm going to link this and all of the video and articles down below so you guys can check them out. What a great way to kind of get our cardio going. Are you guys ready? Are you all warmed up? Are we all feeling the aloha? All right, everybody. Now let's talk about the conversation that Miriam had with the daughter of a Scientologist that she just ran into on the street. Check this out, you guys. This was fantastic.
Hi, what's your name? What do you want to say? I'm Miriam.
My name's Noah.
Okay, and your dad is Scientologist?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you grew up with him or?
No, he and my mom separated a long time ago.
Okay, was your mom ever in?
No.
Okay.
She's a bit more normal.
Okay. Did he ever try to push it on you?
No, but we had a couple letters sent to us.
Okay.
Where he was warning us about whatnot, and when the coronavirus hit.
Yeah, they were crazy with the corona. Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know how many theories he was spinning up.
Okay.
He was a firm believer that what's he called? Bill Gates. He started it all.
Oh, yeah. Bill Gates started it. Okay, so
you heard it here, guys.
Okay, I didn't know. Did they tell you that?
No.
He was in the Sea Org until 16 or something. Or what was it?
Elrond Hubcult, I believe, is there with her, and he's someone, if you're not following him, is here on YouTube, and he was in the Sea Organization. They do a lot of content together out there in Denmark. I thought, what an interesting conversation to get her take on what it's like to have a dad in Scientology, and she's not. You know what? It very much gave Feral Cheryl. It reminded me of Feral Cheryl's story where her dad was a Scientologist. So she grew up with a father who's a Scientologist, but she never became one, but still, unfortunately, experienced many of the side effects of growing up in Scientology. So very interesting conversation. I'm glad that she shared that with us. Now let's go jump over to Hollywood or Holly Weird. MD Media 18, Matt was doing one of my favorite things when he goes and he decorates Tom Cruise's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where tourists come from all over the world to explore the stars on the Walk of Fame and see all of their names. And of course, Tom Cruise is a big one, and MD Media gave a little upgrade to his star.
He's part of Scientology, so not very happy with him.
Message of human trafficking and the truth about Scientology, and people are going by and taking pictures. Okay. MD Media, if he's in the chat or later, he can verify this. I feel like there were more people stopping and taking pictures of the star with these notes and truth about Scientology added on it than if they were to even notice it was Tom Cruise's star. I mean, look at this. We got a whole group of people like, what is up? What is up? They are seeing the truth. So I love that he does that. It's become one of my favorite things. I'm glad that he's doing that, right? Cubana Chica, love that she's taking a photo. I know. Yeah, Jersey Dan. Tom Cruise's star on Hollywood Boulevard getting a makeover. I mean, does it really get better than that? It does. It does get better than that. We have more. We have more because outside the Hollywood Testing Center, you know, where Scientology used to do a ton of recruitment, but then they had to stop because, you know, protesters, people live streaming Scientology, they can't do that anymore. Let's go over and take a look because MD Media 18 was there as well. And look at what he did.
And I put some right underneath the camera. No, nothing exciting. We're just gonna hang out in front of here. Put some here, guys. Put some underneath their cameras, so they got to see them underneath their cameras. I will, Kirby's mom. I'll tell him you said hello.
I love that he puts them under the cameras, so even Scientology security can enjoy these messages.
And then there's people that work all day. Do a little chalk, and I put some right underneath.
I love it. Fantastic. We've got chalk tech. We've got flyer tech. We've got educating people about the truth of Scientology in front of their completely empty winter wonderland. It's more like winter bummerland because there's no magic. There's no magic. Just no magic there. Now let's go take a look at, okay, so I'd like to say a ton of you sent me this clip, but you didn't. I found it on my own. And I'd like to say that Mem is sharing this because so many of you were obsessed with this guy, but I'm not sure you were. It was me. It was me. I don't think you guys could even guess. In fact, let's just give it a second. I'm going to pull up this video. Who do you think that I'm going to share a clip about that I was like low-key a little obsessed about when we first met this person some months ago? And I'll give you a hint. It was from a video from a First Amendment auditor. And I'll give you another hint. He's outside of the United States. I don't want to say you all were like low-key going crazy over this man, but when I went and looked back at the comments, it was just me. But we're still going to look at it. We'll see. I don't think anybody is going to guess this. Oh, you know, Jolie? I think you might know. I think you might know. Let's see if anybody guessed yet. Hey, Holy Rogue, good to see you. Ooh, Cubana Chica, you name the place. You name the place. It's good to know that some of you pay attention to my obsessions. And okay, it's not literally an obsession. I'm saying that in fun before some of you go running with that. But let's take a, yeah, buckle up, Buttercup. You know it. Yes, Mary James. Oh, you guys, you get me. You listen. You feel me. That's right. I found some footage of our friend Devanta. Now, if you missed my video I did about this before, number one, shame on you. Number two, Devanta is a Scientology staff member that works in Ireland, and there was a First Amendment auditor. Well, actually, I don't know if they're called First Amendment auditors in Ireland, but there was an auditor there who was sharing what was happening in Scientology Ireland, and we got to meet Devanta, who apparently many of you, mainly me, thought, what a handsome man. Look at this, you guys. He turns out we've been missing out. There is so much content with Devanta on their website for Scientology Ireland. So we're going to look at this. We are going to look at this. Let me just move this forward here. Hold on a second. Where are we? Can you guys see? You guys can see. That's right. Let's take a look and see what was Devanta doing.
Scientology. Before I start, I'd like to go over a word with you. That word is inalienable.
So he's doing a Scientology Sunday service. It's like 12 minutes long. It ends with, Scientology's fake prayer at the end. I'm going to link it down below so you guys can watch the whole thing. And I'm not going to lie, right? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm showing you this video because I think he's handsome. And I want to hashtag save Devanta. Exactly. And even his girlfriend or wife or whoever partner he might have. I've just decided. So I'm going to link that down below so you can watch it. I'm not going to play all the sound because it is on a Scientology channel. But what's interesting, you guys, is you can see the Scientology Sunday service. He actually does a fairly decent job delivering that. But really what I want you guys to see, if you're interested, is what a Scientology Sunday service looks like. Because I have gotten that question multiple times. And now that this is a video, I think, where he does a good job at, as far as Scientology goes, of delivering the Sunday service. Oscar says he's a nice bit of knitting. I've not heard that phrase, but I love it. I'm here for it. Marcy says, save Devanta. Yes. Right, Marlene? I know. Mock says it's a gorgeous shell. I know. I'm not hating it. I mean, if we got to look at Scientology content, if I need to look at hours and hours and hours of Scientology content, as I do, I throw myself in front of that bus daily for y'all. And just share the highlights. I may as well have something nice to look at. Let's see. Jolie is saying, I am shocked that any Irish person falls for Scientology. They're usually pretty wary and don't mince words for idiots. Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? And he's an American there. I don't know how many Americans they brought over there. Anna says, let's start a GoFundMe to save him. Okay, let's not go that far yet, but I'm just saying we can at least start the conversation, right? Maybe make some shorts, getting the word out. I feel, I just have this feeling, not based on anything concrete, that if he knew there was a group of people in a world outside that would help him, where he could really achieve the goals that he wants to, that he and his family that he may or may not have would leave. Oh, hey, MD Media, good to see you. We were just looking at your clips on L. Ron Hubbard or on Hollywood Boulevard. Love what you did with the Tom Cruise star and what you did outside the testing center. So you guys think about the whole Devanta thing, and we will discuss it again. Bob, don't feel bad, Natalie. I watch you because you're gorgeous. Bob, stop. Don't stop. I appreciate that. I'll take it. I'm a woman of a certain age in her 50s. And if somebody wants to call me gorgeous, thank you. Marcy says a group of women on this channel wanting to save him. LOL. I know. Mock, exactly. He's too gorgeous to waste away in Scientology. I'm glad I'm not the only one seeing the light here. Seeing the light, you guys. Seeing the light. Yeah, Marcy, I'm taking the win any chance I get. That is my new way of operating in life. I'm telling you, it's part of my retirement mindset. I've told you guys I will continue to work full-time plus, but mentally, I'm retiring. I am. I'm just checking out of a lot that's just not my business. And I am focusing on Natalie for the first time in my adult life. And let's be honest, life. Okay, so now, moving on, let's put a pin in the whole Devanta thing right now. Let's put a little pin in it because we got to talk about something else. Did you guys see Jenna Miscavige's video? It was so good. It's called I Was a Scientology Mean Girl. Number one, talk about gorgeous. She looks stunning in this video. But what she shares, she's so spot on about it. In Scientology, in the Sea organization, is the Commodore's Messenger organization. My sister Lana was also a former Scientology Sea Org Mean Girl. in the Commodore's Messenger organization. This is an organization that has been around since the L. Ron Hubbard days, where young, attractive women, girls, would run around in like tied up little belly-bearing shirts and short shorts and run around the ship being messengers for L. Ron Hubbard and doing his bidding. That carried over when the Sea Organization went to land, and the Commodore's Messenger organization grew and became, these are the people who are the emissaries of L. Ron Hubbard, and then David Miscavige, when David Miscavige took over. And they put you through intense training and indoctrination. Not only do you do the regular boot camp that you have to do to become a Sea Org member, but they have you do their own special boot camp to become a Sea Org mean girl. And I thought this was such a fantastic analogy, and I could see why Jenna struggled with it, because that's just not her nature. That's not who she is today. And that she can look back at that and share that story, I think is fantastic. Let's look at a clip of the video where she talks about that experience, how she got there, what it meant.
One of the first CMO drills is to walk into a room with an air of authority. And so you're basically supposed to walk into a room with just like this vibe where everyone knows that you're the boss and you're there representing L. Ron Hubbard. And this,
yes. And now David Miscavige. But think about that. Wrap your head around that. Scientology and the Sea Organization was focused on, and there were boys and men who were in the CMO, the Commodore's Messenger organization. But it was, and I'm going to, give a guess, still primarily made up of women. Young, attractive women whose job it is to basically just, execute the orders of David Miscavige, but be pleasant unless you're yelling at a Sea Org member to get them to do their thing. She even gets into more detail about this.
This is kind of where the mean girl vibe comes in. And one of my friends mentioned that there was what was called the CMO walk, where it's sort of like when you would walk into a room and everyone would kind of stop and look at you, and they would know that they had to be on their best behavior or else. And on top of this, almost everyone in CMO was a teenage pretty girl. And
that is very telling. Why cultivate pretty young girls in Scientology and the Sea Organization and turn them into mean girls? That was the whole intention. It wasn't something that accidentally happened. You heard Jenna say it. There were drills that they did to walk with authority, to have what in Scientology is called ethics presence. And you need to have that. Side note, 420 Audits. Hey, 420 Audits is the person who brought us Devanta and says, I'm 10 minutes behind. It's Devanta. Wow, I want to rescue him for the girls. Please do. And boys, you know what I'm saying? You're out. We would love to see more footage out there in Ireland. If you feel so moved and find yourself back there again, let me know and we will share it and talk about it. But right now we're talking about Jenna Miscavige here. So it's very, very telling, I think, in how Scientology uses young pretty girls to manipulate. They use them to recruit for Scientology. Let's think about Chicago, Los Angeles. There are multiple places in Hawaii where I grew up and where I was raised in Scientology. My mother was a Scientology body router. She was 27, 28 years old. Beautiful woman. Her job was to bring people, and it was primarily men, into Scientology to do the personality test and then try to recruit them into Scientology. And, she was successful at it. I know that's a lot of what and why they do that. And Jenna's videos sheds all kinds of light on this.
It's my understanding that even in the earliest days of CMO, that this is how it was. And I can't tell you that there is an exact policy on only bringing pretty cute girls into CMO because I haven't seen one, but that is absolutely what happened. In fact, the young girls in CMO would often be in contact with my uncle, David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, when he was in town, because the CMO offices were always right next to his offices. And many times those would be the people who would be recruited in order to become his personal stewards.
So they would recruit right out of the Commodore's Messenger organization to have these young girls become stewards for David Miscavige, wait on him, handle his food, clean his birthing, all of those things. It's like this feeder line. Let's recruit young, attractive young ladies. Let's train them to be mean girls. Let's train them to walk with authority, to have ethics presence. And then let's put them in charge of washing David Miscavige's, tidy whities, I'm going to guess. I kind of don't think he's a boxer man. I'm kind of feeling he gives a very tidy whitey vibe. Nothing wrong with tidy whities. I'm not slamming it. It wouldn't be my first choice. So tell me what you think. One in the chat, is David Miscavige a tidy whitey kind of guy? The little tight briefs, or boxers. Tidy whities, give me a 1. Boxers, a 2. Doesn't wear underwear at all, a 3, or throw it in. I want to know what you guys think, because I really get a vibe when I think about people doing his laundry that it's a bunch of tidy whities. And there's people who know. I bet you even Jenna knows. I wonder if my sister knows. I wonder if she ever did Miscavige's laundry. Me and Taz is like, no, nothing. He wears nothing. Rona's like, yeah, no. Boxers, but a lot of you are like, no, tidy whitey every day, all day. Me and Taz is like, no, man, nothing. The man is wearing nothing under that. Pause for Andrea. Definitely saw Jenna's video. Wouldn't it be interesting to hear Jenna and Lana have a conversation about the CMO days? Yes, I love that idea. I'm sorry, you're right, Stace. I'm sorry. No mental image picture of DM and tidy whities. It's horrifying. I know. I'm sorry I had to do that to you guys, but I really want to know. Not that Karen says panties, which if that's his thing, that's his thing. But I doubt it because other people. Oh, power lies to paralyze with a 4th option. Leopard Speedo. How did I not think of that? Sometimes they say it's the most conservative people that there's much more of like a freak flag flying underneath that. I don't know. Does he have just an inner leopard Speedo personality just dying to come out? Most of you seem to think tidy whities, but the Holy Rogue says no, DM is a free baller. Not a degrade being. 3, so we're thinking nothing. Pat's like got a number 4 option too on the panties. Mary or a Speedo. Yeah. Ramart, I know. I apologize. I too am a visual person. Right now he's wearing tidy whities and dancing around in my head. I'll have to get rid of that somehow. James, Miscavige goes commando, and I feel like James has some insight. So I'm going to keep checking your comments because I feel like we're onto something. I just think that if we can understand the underwear, could we understand the man? I don't know. I think we can. Inner leopard Speedo. I think it's a thing. You guys keep telling me 1 if it's tidy whities, 2 if it's boxers, 3 if nothing, 4 for your crazy other options. I'm going to go back and read everything I missed. So keep it coming. And if you're on the replay, jump in those comments. I want to hear from you too. All right, link down below with that Jenna Miscavige video. You got to check it out. Now, let's talk about Aaron Smith Levin and his uncomfortable truth and how he made me uncomfortable because I had to remember and think about something that made me uncomfortable. I didn't forget about this. Let me reword this. In my experience as a former Scientologist and a former member of Scientology C organization, when I was executing my billion-year contract, the way that we lived and the lack of boundaries and privacy and ownership and autonomy all felt normal. Well, of course it's supposed to be that way. They're protecting us. Of course somebody's going to go through the mail. What if somebody sends me something that is in theta, as it's called in Scientology, in turbulated theta? So theta is like what thetans put out, right? That positive energy. And in turbulated is basically you jacked it up. You're upset. You upset somebody. And Aaron brings up a really good point in this video about how there are no civil liberties in Scientology. In the C organization specifically is what I would add. When I look back, I knew that, oh yeah, of course we had room inspections. Of course they came and checked with a white glove. Of course sometimes they went through our stuff just to make sure we were keeping our ethics in. Because after I saw this video with Aaron Smith Levin, I had to go back and revisit that mindset. Like, Natalie, what did you think about that at the time? And that's what I thought. No, of course. They're protecting us. Of course, they need to ask me these invasive questions. It's for protecting Scientology. That's how it's all presented to you. Yet, it really is about taking away your basic civil liberties. So let's take a look at this clip and then let's discuss, y'all.
Where your bed is, your clothes are, your belongings, your armoire, your dressers, all of your.
Okay, I got to stop him right there. Aaron Smith Levin, did you have an armoire in the Sea Org? I heard some did back in my day. Gather around, back in my day. Back in my day when I was in the Sea Org, we didn't have no armoire. Eventually, they gave us a trunk that we could drag around. But if later on, I think I heard a rumor of armoires. I've heard about it, never saw it myself, but good for you if you had one.
Property.
And dresser too. I'm like, you had a dresser? I did have a dresser, but it was acquired through my own doing. In fact, side note here, when my daughter was born, because I gave birth to my daughter while I was still in the Sea organization, they shipped me off 2 weeks later to Seattle. Because I wouldn't, because I dared to have a child with my husband, and we dared to not end that pregnancy, even though that's what was being demanded of us. So in my drawer, the dresser we took a drawer out after she was born because we didn't have anything. We had a stroller that we had gotten from some of the cadets. And I think maybe a car seat eventually, but we didn't have a bassinet. We didn't have a crib. I was in one room in the Sea organization with a shared bathroom, and I wasn't allowed to leave because they didn't want me taking the baby around. And so we took the drawer and we put blankets and we made a bed for her. So my daughter, Shelby, who many of you have met here on my channel, and she also did an interview on growing up in Scientology, spent the first 2 weeks of her life in a drawer. In the Sea Org. That was her bed. That was her crib. So I didn't have an armoire, but my dresser did double duty as clothes and a crib for my daughter.
All of your possessions, your private space is subject to search and seizure every single day. And this is considered something that is perfectly normal and natural. And of course, it not only is that way, but should be that way for the good of all. For the good of the organization and for the good of you, yourself. And this is something that you're not only expected to put up with, but you're expected to embrace. Because L. Ron Hubbard would say, only criminals have anything to hide. And you should find nothing wrong with having all of your belongings and your clothes and your bags searched every day by someone you don't know, while you are not present. I mean, this sounds insane.
It does sound insane. I was watching this and somehow not blocked out, but you guys, I got to be honest, there's so much that happened in Scientology, in the Sea organization, that there are details that are so mortifying in ways that I've just not really revisited. And he's right. I hear that today. And today, the Natalie, almost 15 years out of Scientology. By the way, January 1st is my anniversary and we're going to party. We need to do something. We need to think about what we're going to do. But when I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was insane. I thought it was normal. Thought it was absolutely normal. Cubana Chica, the lack of any privacy is disgusting. Absolutely. Paula says, oh, goody, let's go through Davy's stuff. Nobody's doing that. That's where it stops. There's no consistency that way. Anna says, all cults strip you of privacy and have zero boundaries. Exactly. Vanessa knows what I'm talking about. Vanessa was a Sea organization member. Room inspections were insane. They were. It was like being in a prison. They could come toss your room if they wanted to. Go through your things. Take things. I knew people who had like small televisions they tried to hide. Those got taken. VCRs. It was back in the day, you guys, back when we did VCRs and Beta. Y'all remember Beta? I had almost forgotten about that. Preparing for in real life, privacy is an illusion. I feel that to a degree too. Hey, Windy City, Thayton, watch. Haven't seen you in a while, Wendy. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, Nisa, exactly. That shows you how greedy David Miscavige is. Exactly. Yep, you're right, Jamie. Jenna Miscavige talked about it too. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh. David Bruce says, some rando going through my sock drawer is not cool. Well, imagine that. We didn't even have to be there. They could just go into our room. Nobody asked. My sister, Lana, once kicked down a door of Sea Org members to get inside to execute orders. She was ordered to go in there and get these 3 teenage Sea Org members back on post or to course, something like that. And they had locked themselves in there and they were hiding. And she kicked down the door and went in there with a pitcher of water. And she found them sleeping under the bunk bed so people wouldn't see them. She lifted up the mattress and she poured it on them. She herself was a teenager. She herself was a child. And this is what she had to do to go get them and get them back on course. I mean, kicking in a door, that's like next level. And if you guys know my sister, like many of you have gotten to know her, there's really not much about her where you would think, oh yeah, that girl's going to kick down a door in a heartbeat. Jersey Jan. Yeah, Lana is badass. She really is. Absolutely. Anna, who did the checking? It depends. You could have gotten your room searched because of a knowledge report. So it could be someone from the Commodore's Messenger organization. It could be the ethics officer or the master at arms, as they were called too in the Sea Org. And by the way, the master at arms walked around with like this baton thing. There's an actual name for it. Someone throw it in the chat or the comments if you remember. The master at arms, the ethics person would walk around with. It was part of the outfit, I guess. They really should have kept the capes because I feel like the master at arms having that thing and a cape would have been like kind of cool. I would have liked to see that in the Sea Org, but they did away with the capes. Vanessa says the birthing revolution shut down by Lana. Yeah, she's not going to let you sleep. She's going to go kick your door down and go get you. Yeah, does it matter to you? Not to me. Ethics officers, estates personnel. It could be so many people that were doing that completely. Marcy, thank you for the reminder. Remember, we are playing a game. We want to get to 21,000 subscribers before the end of this video. And if we do, one of you is getting a Feral Cheryl body Thetan chosen at random at the end of this video, which means you got to stick around and be in the chat. Okay, now we're going to move on from that. As disturbing as it is to all of us, I am right there with you and being kind of traumatized by that. David Bruce, Lana's alter ego is a stormtrooper. You know, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I can't tell you how many times in my life I have called Lana. One in particular conversation. Can I share this without criminally incriminating myself? Yes, because technically I didn't break any laws. No, I didn't. Okay, so there was a situation, not my proudest parenting moment, I got to tell you, but there was a guy, young man, who was 18, who I'd find out had helped one of my teenage daughters sneak out of the house. And I know, like any responsible parent would do, I hunted him down. I found out my daughter wouldn't tell me where he lived, but I knew about where he lived. So I knew if I knocked on a few doors, I would find this guy because I wanted to let him know what I thought about this and what was up and what would happen to him possibly if he showed up at my house again as an 18-year-old man and tried to sneak my teenage daughter out of the house. So I call up Lana and I'm like, hey, I need you to come with me as a witness. And I can pick you up. There's something I got to take care of. And you know what she said? I'll tell you what she didn't say. Well, what is it about? Oh, well, what do you mean? What's going on? What do I have to do? No. She said, I'm putting my shoes on right now. Do I need a bat? That's what she said. And I said, shoes, yes. Bat, no. I keep one in my car. So if we need it, it's okay. I know, James, still, it is a rite of passage. But at the time, I didn't really understand that. I was still operating too in my Scientology mentality of we have rules, we have procedures, we have ethics. And I went about it in kind of a very Scientology way to deal with some parenting issues sometimes. I need to do a whole nother video on that. Tell me what you guys think. I could do a whole video on all the crazy parenting things I did because of my Scientology mentality. Andrew, that's right. That's a true sibling right there. Absolutely. She has never, when I've needed her, questioned, and vice versa too. I'm like, what do you need? Just tell me, I'm there. Okay, moving on. And that's all despite our upbringing in Scientology, by the way. It's like I think being able to maintain those relationships. And I think in many ways, our Sea Organization experience bonded us, even though we didn't have access to each other a lot of the time. We always knew if push came to shove at any point in our life, even today, that we would be there for each other and just do whatever needed to be done. Kayla, I love Lana. I do too. I hope she comes over this week. I'm going to go spend the night at her house Christmas Eve. That's going to be fun. Okay, now we got to talk about Rick Allan Ross. Rick Allan Ross is a cult expert. I've had him on my channel. The man is fascinating. His knowledge of cults. He has been doing, what do they call them now? They don't call them deprogramming anymore. Interventions for not just Scientologists, but people in all kinds of cults. This man has seen it all, and he has got some amazing advice and words and insight. He was on a channel. He was on the Sean Ryan show talking about cults, and this is some of what he had to say about Scientology.
Looking at themselves and saying, look, it's my fault what happened, instead of looking at the person who was an abusive, controlling partner or the organization that was abusive and controlling, and recognizing that they were to blame and that the person who was hurt is really a victim. This
is exactly, I can tell you, how it works in Scientology. Whenever we would bring something forth that happened to us, that we were legitimately a victim of, we weren't allowed. You're not allowed to be a victim. You're not. And so it's somehow your fault. This is the issue when it comes to SA in Scientology, and especially the Sea Organization. It always goes back to, it's your fault. Well, what did you do to pull it in? You must have done something to pull it in. This is Scientology's response to so much of the abuses. But that street does not go two ways. Things happening to Scientology, the exposure of Scientology, the truth coming out, they didn't pull that in. That's not Scientology pulling it in. That's a bunch of criminals who are exposing Scientology. NYC girl, Lana and Natalie, are you named after the Wood sisters? My daughters are named after Allman Brothers song. Yes, we are. I was named after Natalie Wood, and my sister Lana was named after Natalie Wood's sister Lana. That's amazing, NYC girl. Almost nobody knows that. They might guess Natalie Wood. My mom was a big fan, but they don't know that Natalie Wood had a sister named Lana. But that's where Lana and I got our names. That's true. That's very true. Andrew says, she said, Rick Ross, my mind went an entirely different and horrifying direction. Rick Allan Ross. Let's listen more.
Of sorting it out, of in essence, deprogramming themselves. And what they often do is, this is done through a process of education where they read about cults, they read about the manipulation that goes on in cults, what we call brainwashing, and they sort it out and they begin to recognize what happened to them. But until they do that, they may blame themselves rather than the organization.
That happens so much. If there's one big message I could give to people who have been in a cult or, God forbid, Scientology, it's that you don't have to blame yourself. A lot of the things that happen were not your fault. We're so indoctrinated to believe that. I mean, hugely. This is a group. Well, really, it was a couple of individuals in my situation, but this is what they do, who even convinced me that my essay was my fault. What was I wearing? I'm not joking, you guys. They asked me this. What were you wearing? What did you say to him? You must have done something. Were you 2D flowing him? I was interrogated about this. And it really makes you think it's your fault. I thought it was my fault for 20 years. Until I didn't. until I learned better, which kind of leads me into the second part of what Rick Ross is saying. When we educate ourselves on how things really are, we can let go of that and realize it wasn't our fault. The cult was wrong about that. We were actually the victim, and it is okay to talk about and expose that. And for many of us former Scientologists, you guys tell me in the chat, how hard is it to admit when we're a victim? It's still hard. I mean, I try not to get into a situation where I am a victim, but it's still like there's remnants of that. The guilt and the pressure is so heavy. Marcy, thank you so much for gifting 5 Scientology Life After Cult memberships. Aloha is in the chat to Marcy. If anybody got a membership, please do say thank you for that. So very interesting. So listen to this next part of what he's talking about, because I think this plays into it as well. I found it fascinating. And if you've been in a high control group, an abusive situation, you got some trauma in that past, pay attention. Listen to this.
Interestingly, I had always thought over the years that if a celebrity that was in Scientology left and turned on them, that could be where celebrity recruitment, which often helped them, could be a two-edged sword that cut both ways. And that happened when Leah Remini, the sitcom star, left Scientology and started to speak out against them.
And you'll remember, what did Scientology do? They immediately tried to vilify Leah Remini. Immediately. And they try to dead agent her, as it's called in Scientology. Because if you share and you talk about the abuses within Scientology and point out, hey, this person was a victim of Scientology. This person was a victim of Scientology. This should have never happened. This was a violation of civil liberties. This was a violation of civil rights. They can't have that. So they try to attack and discredit that person. And they've been doing it to Leah Remini and many others for a long time. But what he's saying about that celebrity sword can cut both ways when that celebrity decides to be vocal about Scientology. Let's listen to more of that.
And she has accomplished an enormous amount of good, basically explaining what's going on inside Scientology and how it affected her. And she was raised by Scientology parents to be a Scientologist. So that is an organization that I look at quite a bit.
Yep, he sure does. He sure does. But fascinating to me, the similarities in cults, high control groups, abusive situations where it involves victim blaming, gaslighting the victim. No, you didn't see what you saw. Scientology has whole, what would you call them? Procedures to gaslight you into believing that you didn't see what you thought you saw. From security checks and interrogations to procedures, there's one called rollback, where they want to find out where you got the idea that whatever you did was a good idea, and they want to trace it back to the original suppressive person. Scientology is so obsessed with suppressive people. Maybe that's why they pull so many of them in, because if what we focus on is what we get, right? Where we put our attention is like we go in that direction. So when we're focused on something, whether we want it or not, if we're focused on it, that's what we get. That's a little bit of my little woohoo energetic theory behind Scientology, pulling all of this in. They are so focused on suppressive people like myself and others, and what people are saying and doing and exposing, versus why don't you clean house? Why don't you end enforced disconnection? Why don't you end not letting people leave when they just want to leave? Why do you got to separate them out and make them do manual labor and they can't speak to their family and people until you sort them out? These are really, really minor things that are big things. Like you wouldn't think it would be so hard, but they can't, because that's what makes them culty. And that's what L. Ron Hubbard said to do. That's why people have to follow that. It's crazy. James Steele, thank you for becoming a member. James Steele for the really good dad jokes, by the way, too. If you're in the chat and you're not familiar with him, he's always throwing in some good ones. Let's see. Sanitarium. I love how you're all acknowledging, hearing one another, and uneffing each other with your time. Thank you. I feel that too. Bob, false data stripping. One of the biggest tools in Scientology to gaslight a Scientologist into believing that what they saw didn't happen, or what you believe is not the truth. It is exactly what it sounds like. False data stripping. You know what? I should find, if anybody has the procedure for false data stripping, can you email me, Natalie@lifeafteroccult.com? I'm going to try and find it, but I think it's something that we should share. You guys got to see this. But it basically is step-by-step procedure to convince you that, so let's say I'm studying this and L. Ron Hubbard says, I should hold my coffee cup like this. And I'm like, no, I feel like I should hold my coffee cup like this. And they're like, nope, that's not what L. Ron Hubbard says. Do you have they will insinuate, they basically say, if you don't accept what L. Ron Hubbard said and says, it's because you have misunderstood words. That's why you don't accept it. You have false data, false information, and false data stripping does that. It's massive monster mind control. It's to find out what your real thoughts are and get rid of them and show you how they're false. They're not real. It's so insidious. I don't stop on the daily and think about stuff like that. Like, I did hours of false data stripping. But when I do, I got to be honest, it kind of makes me mad. Not that caring. Cults learned a lot about mind control from Hitler. I don't doubt it. I feel like they all learn from each other. Thank you, Jay Brimble. You're also a survivor. Many of you in the chat are absolute survivors. Yeah, me and Taz, the mods, are busy this morning. God bless you. And thank you. And thank you for being here. Bella Notes, thank you for being a member for 5 months. That's incredible. Aloha Nat in chat. There seems to be so much shame attached to being victimized. Owning your story is first step-by-step to healing. Control is demoralizing. You're so right. And that began my healing when I owned my story, when I told the truth about what happened to me. It was the beginning of me being able to heal from that. I'm like, so wished I'd have done it earlier because I wasted so much time. But whatever, here we are. Now we're talking about it. And my hope is that when I share my experience, that other people maybe might hear it, whether you were in Scientology or not, and maybe even help you realize too that don't be gaslit into thinking that you're a victim because of, especially when it comes to SA, because it's something that you did. Not a degrade being. I've been false data stripping my Scientology experience for 40 years. I believe it. That's what you want to do, is get rid of that. Mock says it's everybody stay in line and march. Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about Rick Allen Ross was just talking about how celebrities, that knife can cut both ways, right? Because if a celebrity leaves Scientology and speaks about it, like Leah Remini, that person has influence and has a voice, and she's been doing that for a long time. And her recent divorce has been making the news from her husband, now ex-husband, Angelo. I think it's pronounced Pagan. I always want to say Pagan. Pagan sounds weird. Like, that's not right. I think it's Pagan. And how they managed to have this amicable divorce and still basically be a family. And I find that very interesting because in any divorce, it's not easy. In a divorce involving a human trafficking cult, it can get even more complicated. So let's look at this, because this is making the rounds again in the media. Where do Leah Remini and Angelo Pagan stand after their divorce? And this is really interesting because they talk about how, they shocked the world when they announced their separation in August of 2024. They finalized their divorce in October of this year, ending their marriage of 21 years. And her divorce from Pagan was yet another chapter in Remini's tragic life story. She had to persevere through. So the article goes into talking a lot about her experience after leaving Scientology, but how their bond is still strong. It just evolved into something different, which is something she posted on Instagram. still considering her marriage a success despite the breakup. I find this very interesting for a multitude of reasons. One, because I've worked hard to maintain relationships with my formers, 2 ex-husbands and a baby daddy. You know, when you share kids together, you know, you try to do that. And I know what it took to do that over the years, especially adding in the whole Scientology element, because every one of them was a Scientologist, but is no more. So outside of Scientology, after we left Scientology, we were able to figure out, how are we going to make this work? We share these children. And like, I've gone on vacation with some of my exes, with even my Tony. We would have my first husband would come with his fiance and stay with us because we have kids, we have grandchildren. And we still liked sharing that family time together. So I don't think that it's always possible, because it just depends on who the players are, right, in that family. But I think it's interesting that based on this article and others, that Leah Remini is moving on from her marriage in a way that is still honoring the relationship and maintaining that family. And I think after Scientology, after the mind-bending things of Scientology, that is not an easy feat. And I think it's interesting that it's kind of making headlines again, like it is here in this article, which I won't read the whole thing. You guys know me. I don't like to read a whole, or I read it once, but then we don't need to read through the whole thing. Talks about, gives you the history on how they met. And when you read through this and you understand what they went through with her battle with Scientology, on one hand, it's kind of like, well, I'm not surprised that they split, but you grow so much in ways after you leave Scientology that it really can change who you are. But I don't think it's so much change as it's growth change. You know what I'm saying? That was my experience. When I left Scientology, within 2 years, I was divorced. It is Scientology, and that was so much about what our relationship was about. And then it wasn't. You know, I needed to go through my own healing and understanding and figuring out who I was, and seeing this is not limited to everyday people like myself. It also affects celebrities. So it's interesting. I'm going to link it down below. You guys can read the whole thing and check it out. But I think it is a cool way to move on if you can do that. Mock says, sometimes a romantic relationship runs its course. And if you were friends first, you can remain friends. That's insightful. I agree with that. You guys tell me, let's do a little quick poll. Put a 1 in the chat if you think, yes, you can be friends with an ex, but no, if you think it's not possible. No wrong answers, you guys. No wrong answers. If you don't think it's possible, I respect that. I'm very curious and I want to know. Gary, what's the book he has in front of him? You got to be more specific. I might have just showed it and I already forgot and I don't know, but tell me again what you're talking about. Okay. Marcy's like, yeah, you can be friends after a breakup. Sandy McKenna says, depends on the ex, which makes me think that Angelo and Leah are 2 people where, you know, maybe they can make it work like this and continue to have a family and relationships, and maybe even through other partners. I was able to do that with my exes. It wasn't easy. It took work, and it took a lot of letting go of ego and a willingness to be vulnerable and honest and picking up the phone when one of us really did need each other, when it came to something with the kids or even just personally. Sarah says, no, not so much. Okay, well, it is heartwarming to see a lot of you do think it's possible. And Cece, same thing. 1 and 2 depends on the ex. You're so right. It takes 2. It takes 2 to fight, and it takes 2 to get along. So I get that. Bob says, my wife and I grew closer when we left Scientology. Bob, that's amazing. I love that. I love that because it goes 2 ways. I've seen it over and over and over again. You either grow closer because of it or you grow apart. And I don't fault either one. I know what I went through after leaving Scientology and how it changed me, that I can only imagine for Leah Remini what that was like as well. Just because she's a celebrity doesn't mean she's not subject to those same experiences that many of us, you know, experience, that you can get beyond it. Cats, bats, and flowers think you can outgrow friendships. Absolutely. In the same way you can outgrow a romantic relationship if you don't grow together. Gaslit has to stop with a friendship. I agree with that. Asen says, possible when both sides want to work on communication after the split. So true. From this, I know my boy's dad is family to me. That's such a beautiful thing. Stasia, good point. As long as it's amenable and not toxic. Exactly. No one should be going out of their way to try and have some harmonious relationship with someone who's toxic, and it's just not possible. That's just going to be banging your head against a wall. We can't save everybody. It's all not going to work out with everyone. Andrew says, I'm friends with every ex I ever had in my life. Andrew, that is beautiful. That is interesting. Amber says, I think me and my ex get along because we've known each other for over 30 years. We were married for 23. We're both second generation. Same with me and my first husband. I met this man when I was 17 years old. We married when I was 17 years old. He was 19. We're now both in our 50s. A lot has happened. But I could pick up the phone right now. We've vacationed together. It's a beautiful thing when you can work it out. Now, we need to move along here and talk about some Mike Rinder Office of Special Affairs document leaks that is shining light on something that happened some years ago and might give you an added perspective, I think, when it comes to Scientology and the lengths they will go to interfere with the entertainment industry, just to name one and a few. Keep your comments coming. I'm going to go back and read them if I'm missing them here, you guys, but I love hearing about your viewpoints on relationship and exes. I absolutely love that. So let's see. Let's start with, there was an article that came out not that long ago that revealed a memo from the Cult of Scientology that they sent out after South Park poked fun at Tom Cruise. So remember years ago, South Park came out, and that is when many were introduced to Xenu and body thetans and the volcanoes, because South Park did a phenomenal job. In fact, if I'm being honest, which I am, Scientology should use that South Park episode to explain Xenu and body thetans to Scientologists, because it's a great visual to help you understand it. It's never going to happen. But I'm just saying, when I watched it, I had already done those upper levels. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I did. And yes, I did. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is like spot on. This is spot on. This is a really good like video and showing to help you understand this stuff. So let's take a look at this here. So this was from Cracked. High-ranking Scientologist, reveals the memo that the cult sent out after South Park. So this goes into how Mike Rinder's internal report revealed that Isaac Hayes, who is the voice of Chef, may have been more upset than South Park fans previously thought. I'm going to link it down below so you can read the whole thing. But it gets into how Scientology has so many codes and acronyms, including joking and degrading. If you're a joker and you're a degrader, like I am. I love to joke and degrade. I think it's so funny. But you're not allowed to do that in Scientology. There's literal policies called jokers and degraders, and like you get in trouble for it. So one thing Scientology does not have is a developed sense of humor, and probably because I think David Miscavige doesn't have one, and people in leadership positions in Scientology, in my experience, weren't known for their sense of humor. People who were, like myself, were labeled as jokers and degraders. And I was like, you say joker and degrader like it's a bad thing, okay? Can we just be honest? Joker and degrader, yes, every day, all day. I think it's funny. I love it. Lisa, right. Joking has gotten me through this life. Absolutely. I know. All right. So this article goes on to talk about what happened. It talks about these documents, right? So I'm going to get into the documents. Let's talk about the documents, because there's an aspect of this that I think is important to remember. The way Sea Org members had to grovel. In fact, we got to wake up OSA for this stuff. David Miscavige. And remember, subscribe. At the end of this video, we going to give away. And if you're already subscribed, you can still get one of these body thetans in the giveaway. You just got to be in the chat at the end of the video. And then we will do that. So Hit subscribe, y'all. David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, please wake up your Office of Special Affairs. It's never going to get old, you guys. It's never going to get old. Office of Special Affairs. We're about to go over a leaked document from you on the internet. Brace yourselves. All right, let's take a look at this. This is a really good example of what it was like. So this was after the South Park fiasco. This is an internal document from Mike Rinder to David Miscavige. He's talking about how, I know Michael Devin briefed you on what Kevin Huvane had to say concerning Comedy Central and the South Park show from his meeting on Saturday. Huvane has put in calls to Summer Redstone, Sherry Redstone, and Brad Gray today, Monday, but has not gotten a hold of any of them yet. And I am staying on this until he gets through. So in Scientology, you'll notice the way this is worded. There's like a situation, there's data, and then blah, 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 a solution that Mike gives to handle this situation. But listen to this BS. So he talks about, let's see here. This is all about what happened. This is the investigation they did into the whole South Park thing. And pulling strings in Scientology is just that. It's like something sticking out and you got to pull on it and find out what's going on. So when you hear pulling the string on, it's that. It's Scientology investigations. So it goes on to say, in the course of pulling strings on media, entertainment industry attacks, these are attacks on Scientology, I have found data about Paramount Viacom that needs to be handled. And here's the data. There have been major changes in attitude and direction at Paramount since Tom Freston came on the scene, and even more so after Sherry Lansing left in March of this year. Now, one thing I want to point out here, Scientology is always like trying to be up in your business. Look how up in the business they were of Paramount and South Park. They are naming names of huge people in the entertainment industry. Like, this is who they're investigating and talking about and just throwing around names like nothing. Like nothing. All right, let's continue on here. So in June of 2004, this guy Tom from MTV and Les Moonves from CBS became the new co-chief operating person at president of Viacom. Freston oversees all cable network properties. MTV Network includes VH1, Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, blah, 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 blah. I love, too, how he's letting David Miscavige, like, here's the 411 on how this all comes together. And then it talks about an article that came out about Matt Parker and Trey Stone and how basically how they want to make, how making movies that are more targeted towards younger people would make more money. So, for example, the example that even Mike gives in this document, the Stepford Wives cost X amount of money to make, where they could make 3 movies that more appeal to younger people and make more money, like the South Park episode. So my takeaway from this is they're basically saying there's been a change in the entertainment industries with this change of the guards, and they're just not so kind or scared of Scientology anymore. That's what was up. So he's giving all the background information and naming names from these, even Tom Cruise gets brought up in that because of some other articles. This is all in an investigation having to do with the attacks on Scientology. Brad Gray and David Geffen have been friends for years. When Burt Field saw Geffen eating lunch with Brad Gray at Geffen's house in Malibu, at the time the negotiations were occurring, Geffen told Burt there were issues related to the Paramount deal on Mission Impossible 3. Now, I want to remind you, this is not a document from Tom Cruise's people, okay, being like, hey, let's figure out what's going on. No. This is a leaked document from the Office of Special Affairs that Mike Rinder wrote to David Miscavige, filling them in. This is the level of up in your business, how much Scientology has infiltrated the entertainment industry going back decades. This was 20 years ago, right? 19, 20 years ago. when this was written, and they did this investigation to find out. And I mean, these are recognizable names, and they know about when this guy had lunch with somebody else, and they're reporting it to David Miscavige. So nothing is too in the weeds when it comes to how David Miscavige micromanages Scientology. He is in the weeds. There are all these people out there doing the dirty work for him. Sometimes it's lawyers, sometimes it's private investigators, sometimes it's Sea Organization members, sometimes it's Scientologists. Sometimes it's non-Scientologists, people never in, who are being gaslit and used to attack people exposing Scientology. That is another tactic of the Office of Special Affairs. And we see you. We see you. I know I throw shade to you every day, but remember, I always like to say, boo, Natalie@lifeafteroccult.com. You know how to reach me. Let's be real. Y'all know where I live. If you need help, we will help you leave. In the meantime, I will continue to throw shade at you pretty much every single day. So this document gets into even more of the skinny having to do with Mission Impossible. What does that have to do with Scientology? It's this whole crazy background. And then there's an analysis. There's been a major shift at Paramount since Freston moved in and Sherry Lansing left. And it goes on to talk about Comedy Central. So the solution being proposed by Mike Rinder at the time to David Miscavige was, I provide this information to Devin, and I do believe that's Michael Devin, who's a Scientologist and apparently an actor, and give him the data sheet of the above data so he can provide it to Mr. Cruise. So Michael Devin, if I'm remembering correctly, and I might be a little rusty on my Tom Cruise, what Scientologist was babysitting him, was someone who worked in the ecosystem of Tom Cruise and reported back about him. He was a Scientology spy person put in Tom Cruise's life to do just that. So Mike saying, I provide this information to Devin with a data sheet. He can give it to Mr. Cruise and set up a meeting with him to brief CAA. They should already know most of the data above and should be offering solutions and a strategy. So he's talking about briefing CAA, which is like what is it called, you guys? Those are the people who like get him jobs, like the agency, right? The talent agency. What does this have to do with Scientology? Yet, here we have internal leaked documents showing the level that David Miscavige was involved in the career of Tom Cruise and his movies. Scientology, I thought, was about clearing the planet. I thought Scientology was about helping people and creating a world without insanity, blah, blah, blah. But apparently, Scientology resources for over 20 years have been being used to further the career, too, of Tom Cruise. How can we help Tom Cruise? How can we debug this Mission Impossible 3 bug? And Mike Rinder at the time had a solution for it. And it was get this data to Cruise, have this meeting. I do not know what arrangement exists between Mr. Cruise and Paramount beyond MI3, but the environment at Paramount has changed radically. And I doubt any other studio would treat him like they are now doing. CAA needs to either handle it or come up with some deals with studios that want the biggest star in the world and will treat him as such. The purpose of the meeting is to ensure they are briefed and know they need to come up with a solution and strategy. Either handle the situation at Viacom Paramount or get new deals set up elsewhere. This is okay. Much love, Mike. And I know it's weird that Sea Org members and Scientologists sign their things, much love. It's like, F you, F you, F you, much love. But you guys see the level of interference that Scientology runs and tries to manipulate behind the scenes. And as we see more of these leaked Office of Special Affairs documents, we see it more and more. And they've been doing this for decades. Decades. Yeah, biggest star in the world. Oh my God, so full of themselves. Yeah, biggest star in the world. Basically, he's saying, you know what? If Viacom and Paramount aren't going to like get their ethics in and start treating Tom Cruise like the number one biggest celebrity that ever was, then we're going to pick up our toys and we're going to go home. It's embarrassing. Why does Scientology, a religious organization, give two craps about what Tom Cruise is doing? It's hilarious. It's so funny and disturbing all at the same time. Don't get me wrong. It is disturbing. It's just weird. Sanitarium. Oh my God, I'm never using that. Much love. I know. It's kind of like the hip hip hooray for Scientologists, which I want to redo my intro just because I'm bored with it now. I just haven't got around to doing it. But the hip hip hooray in my intro is all about taking that back from Scientology, because we had to stand up all the time and hip hip hooray for L. Ron Hubbard and David Miscavige. Now I'm over it. But much love is like that too. Much love. People write knowledge reports like telling your deepest, darkest secret, and we'll end it. Much love. Or this is true. And you sign your name. That's L. Ron Hubbard policy. This is true. Or this is okay. That's why they're like done in these really weird ways. Let's see. There's one thing about this. Did I want to share this? No, it's just more of the investigation. One last thing, you guys. Well, I say that and then I'll have something else. Did you guys hear that Scientology filmmaker Alex Gibney, the guy who did Going Clear, is doing a documentary about Luigi Mangione? Y'all hear about that? Let's take a look at an article that is just out about that. Luigi Mangione documentary in the works from Alex Gibney, anonymous content. So here's a picture. Can we have a quick conversation about this? Somebody help me understand, why are millennials and maybe some Gen Zs losing their mind over this guy? Like, I get the handsome young man part, but I'm like, he killed somebody, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, innocent until proven guilty, but he seems to be proving himself guilty. I don't get it. Mock, he is the person who has been arrested with shooting the United Healthcare CEO in New York. Before we all started losing our minds about the drones, this was like the big story, and it is still a big story. I am just not totally understanding so much of it, and I really actually want to talk about this with you guys. This is kind of like my hot topics topic. So when I've decided that on the recap, even if we have time and even if we don't, I want to save time at the end for hot topics where we get to talk about something I'm trying to understand and you guys can help me understand it. I don't understand the making him a hero part. I guess I understand standing up, right? Our healthcare system is not good. There are horrific things happening within it, all of that. My struggle is being okay with, why does he get to decide who lives or die? Why do people think it's okay for him to be the one who decides who lives or dies because of a cause? I don't understand it. So I'm going to turn to the comments, and let me give you the gist of this article though. It's basically about the documentary that the guy who did Going Clear is going to be doing about Luigi and what happened with the United Healthcare CEO. I will link it down below. But I'm also noticing on social media, I'm seeing a lot of just people losing their minds over him. So I'm going to catch up a little bit here. Yeah, Chantel says, yeah, I saw that. Asen, but his reasons. So his reasons were because the healthcare system is not working. I understand that. I think something should be done about it. It's horrific. Trust me on this one. I was elbow deep in this crap for 3 years when my Tony was sick. It's messed up. It's so messed up. Our healthcare system is ridiculous. The things, oh my God, the stories I could share, the things I had to do. Anyways, we're not talking about that though. So I get that. I get that. I just don't understand why do people think it's okay though? A time to change. He's the Ted Bundy of their generation. Okay. So Ted Bundy was a serial killer, but he was a lawyer. But still, though, Ted Bundy was a serial killer. What am I missing? What am I missing? Pocono, I agree. It's not okay to gun anyone down on the street. I don't think another human gets to decide that. But I also agree that something really major needs to be done. Things need to change. Marcy says, I know. I think it's scary and saying violence is okay. David Bruce says, got PSYOP written all over it. Tell me more about that, David. Help me understand. I want to understand that more. Me and Taz says, I don't find him good looking at all. Well, to me, he's a child because he's like younger than my children. But yeah. I mean, he's not a child. He's a grown man. But for me, it's like, if you're younger than my kids, you my baby. You a baby. Stasia says corporate greed is really eating some people up. Yes, it is. And I do believe it's a big problem. I feel like we're kind of shifting. Don't you guys think? Do you feel that? It feels like things are shifting. I think we're going to go really far in one direction, like we tend to do, and then maybe come back somewhere in the middle. James, what's the empty thought cloud to Natalie's left? That's my lamp. That's my cloud lamp. Mock says some kind of sick, perverted Robin Hood fantasy, maybe. Maybe. It could be. Okay, and some of you agree with me too. Like, this doesn't seem justifiable. Andrew says healthcare kills a lot more. Don't condone it, but entirely understand the frustration. I'm with you on that, Andrew. I completely understand the frustration. I do. I've just not gotten over, but through living it for almost 3 years. I get it. You're talking to somebody who threatened to steal oxygen from a hospital, okay? Because Tony's insurance wouldn't cover it. And it was the last week of his life and he wasn't doing well. And I'm like, he needs oxygen at home, but his pulse ox would not go under 85 in the doctor's office like it did at home. So insurance wouldn't cover the oxygen, but I knew he needed it. So I outright told them, you know what? I'm pulling my car up and I'm taking it and you're going to have to tackle me. So Tony was getting his IV. I think he was getting an infusion, and somebody from the office comes up. She's like, okay, so Natalie, the issue with the oxygen, she goes, you can rent one right down the street. And I did. I mean, it was $100, not super ridiculous, but still I went and I rented it so I didn't have to steal it from the hospital and risk arrest. So I guess I'm just saying, like, I understand the frustration completely. But we also have certain, it's still, you took the life of someone. I don't know. I can't justify that. And I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to see the point of view of people who do, not to go at them like you're wrong for that. I want to understand it. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with it. But if I can understand how you got there, maybe it's not so confusing to me. Anna says, many people in this country know a person or a family member who has been denied from their health insurance and they died. Yeah, exactly. But is the solution to end somebody else's life? Is that actually going to change it? It will bring attention to it. But are there other ways that we could bring attention to it as well? Cubana Chica says, there's a weird group of people who become obsessed with various killers. I will never understand it. That's true. Maybe it's a little bit of that too. A Time to Change says hot and dangerous. Maybe. Main House says more to this story. I think so. I do. I really do. Maria says he's definitely not a hero. Unfortunately, nothing is going to change. In the US and here in Greece. Oh, hey, shout out to Greece, by the way. Beautiful. They try to push private health or hospitals not free that we have paid from our work. Wow. Crow Red Eye. I think lots see him closer to being Dexter than Bundy. Yeah, that's right. The show Dexter. I get that. Okay. This is interesting. If I've missed your comments after the stream, I go back and try to read everything that I miss, because I do want to understand this. And a lot of you seem to kind of be on board with me here. Hey, Rabbit, good to see you. Hi. Down the Rabbit Hole News. That's where I get a lot of my news. If you guys aren't already subbed to her, you want to be. There's nothing to understand. Wrong is wrong. It changes nothing. Yeah, I get that. And I feel like I'm not going to change. Like, I'm pretty solid in I think it's wrong, but I want to understand. I don't understand the appeal. Like, I don't look at that and go, ooh. I don't know. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to read this before we go. Now, I might have said, I realized that I think I might have misspoke, you guys. When we started this, and I think I said when we get to 21, did I say 21,000? Yeah, we're almost there. So we want to give away this body Thetan. We just need a couple more of you to subscribe, and then we officially hit 21,000. It's 21,998. I'll wait. We'll keep talking. We can do it, you guys. There's got to be somebody in this chat on this video who has not yet hit subscribe, or check your subscribe as well. Check your subscribe. I love all the aloha for Rabbit. That's fantastic. Moose on the Loose is here. Morning and aloha, Nat and chat. Way late, but about to restart. I'm so glad. Moose on the Loose is also another fun one to follow here on YouTube. You guys got to check that person out. Check out Moose on the Loose. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're boom, we did it. Keep hitting subscribe though. We just hit 21,000 subscribers. Paula, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Hip, hip, hooray to you. Okay, here's how we're going to do it. Everybody fast and furious, just throw one in the chats and one of the mods is going to randomly pick somebody. Yes, I just put it on you guys. So, what is up for grabs here? A body Thetan from Feral Cheryl on the Loose, made by her. Hold on. Keep putting the ones in the chat, and then we will call it, and then Nancy will randomly pick one. This is a Feral Cheryl original body Thetan. I would call it kind of a little bit of a gray color with an undertone of purple, and purple is royalty. This body Thetan has spent the last few weeks behind me with the other body Thetans and is looking for a good home. I will put it in a if it fits, it ships type thing and get it sent to you. It's so soft. I really love it. I honestly, like, look how the body Thetans, like, I lock this room when my grandkids are around because I don't want them taking them, but they all play with them. So keep them coming. I see all your ones. And we'll do more fun stuff like this too. I love doing giveaways and I've never done one. I think this is my first. Okay, Nancy, go through and then you do the spin the wheel and you pick one and then tell me in the private chat. Tell me in the private chat when you pick one. Oh, it's so cute. I have one in my Christmas tree, a little one. I don't know what it is. Where Feral Cheryl just makes these so cuddly. My grandkids call them stuffy babies or baby Thetans. I've heard them say two things. Mina, who's 3, calls them like stuffy baby or a stuffy. And baby Thetans, I've heard them both say as well. Okay. Nancy has spun the wheel. And Nancy, let's make it even easier for me. Can you highlight her comment, the person that you chose, or maybe it's gone too far past already? Let's see. And the winner, Kelly Doctor, hello. You're not the winner, but hey, girl, good to see you. Girl, we need to get on the phone and do a video call and just catch up. I feel like it's been forever. I've been talking to you since before I got sick. So sidebar, but yes, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Nancy says, oh, okay, good. So of course she had already done that. I just needed to look. Okie dokie. Okay, so today's body Thetan in celebration of our 21,000 subscribers is going to Linda Lou. So Miss Linda Lou, what I need from you is to send me an email to Natalie@lifeafteraccult.com. And then what I'm going to do is just pop it in the mail to you. But do make sure you do that. Make sure you do that. Today, 4 p.m. Central Time, we're going to do a members only live stream. So any of you that got some of those gifted memberships or became a member, join. And if you miss it, catch it on the replay. What do we talk about in the members only live streams? We talk about a lot of business of the members, but it's also a time where I can more casually chat with you guys, really more one-on-one. We talk about stuff that's going on with me or coming up, or sometimes I even want to get your opinion on something that I have an idea for the channel and see what you think. Being a member of the channel is a wonderful way to help support the channel, but even just being here, liking and subscribing. I love you guys. That is supporting the channel. So everything everybody does is fantastically supporting this channel. And we recently hit over 5 million cumulative views. That's like 5 million opportunities to tell the truth about Scientology and share my life after a cult. I cannot thank you guys all enough for doing that, and my appreciation. We're just continue to do that. So Linda Lou, please do send me that email so I can get this put in the mail to you. Members only live at 4. I might be jumping on and doing a vertical video because there's a couple other things I wanted to chat about. Let's see how the day goes. So set that notification bell to all. In the meantime, you all get out and have an amazing cult-free day.